Remember, y'all, right where we left off was after she was playing the piano at that place where Arlie Wonderdale had asked her to play. Make sure that you are looking at your paper, not at the screen. January 1934, birthday for FDR. I played so well on Wednesday night. Arlie put his arm across my shoulder and asked me to come and perform at the president's birthday ball. Ma can't say no to this one. It's for President Roosevelt. Not that Mr. Roosevelt will actually be there, but the money collected at the ball, along with the balls all over the country, will go in the president's name to the Warm Springs Foundation, where Mr. Roosevelt stayed once when he was sick. Someday I plan to play for President Franklin Delano Roosevelt himself. So remember, this man was a president at the time during the 1930s. Maybe I'll go all the way to the White House in Washington, D.C. In the meantime, it's pretty nice. Arlie asking me to play twice for Joyce City. January 1934. Not too much to ask. We haven't had a good crop in 3 years, not since the bounty of 31, and we're all whittled down to the bone these days. Even Ma with her new round belly. But still, when the committee came asking, Ma donated 3 jars of applesauce and some cured pork and a feed sack nightie she'd sewn for our coming baby. February 1934, Mr. Hardley's money handling. It was Daddy's birthday, and Ma decided to bake him a cake. There wasn't enough for anything like a real present. Ma sent me to fetch the extras, with 50 cents she'd been hiding away. Don't go to Joyce City, Billy, she said. You can get what we need down Hardley's store. I slipped the coins into my sweater pocket, the pocket without the hole, thinking about how many sheets of new music 50 cents would buy. Mr. Hardley glared when the Wonder Bread door banged shut behind me. He squinted as I creaked across the wooden floor. Mr. Hardley was in the habit of charging too much for his stale food, and he made bad change when he thought he could get away with it. I squinted back at him as I gave him Ma's order. Mr. Hardley's been worse than normal since his attic filled with dust, and collapsed under the weight. We hired folks for the repairs and argued over every nail and every little minute. The whole place took shoveling for days before he could open again, and some stock was so bad it had to be thrown away. The stove clanked in the corner as Mr. Hardley filled Ma's order. I could smell apples, ground coffee, and peppermint. I sorted through the patterns on the feed bags, sneezed dust, blew my nose. When Mr. Hardley finished sacking my things, I paid the bill. And tucking the list in my pocket along with the change, I hurried home so Ma could bake the cake before Daddy came in. But after Ma emptied the sack, setting each packet out on the oilcloth, she counted her change, and I remembered a sinking feeling that I hadn't kept an eye on Mr. Hardley's money handling, and Mr. Hardley cheated again. Only this time he'd cheated himself, giving us 4 cents extra. So remember, guys, back during that time too, especially the Depression, 4 cents was a lot of money. So while Mom mixed a cake, I walked back to Mr. Hardley's store, back through the dust, back through the Wonder Bread door, and thinking about the secondhand music in a moldy box at the shop in Joyce City, music I could have for 2 cents a sheet. I placed Mr. Hardley's overpayment on the counter and turned to head back home. Mr. Hardley cleared his throat, and I wondered for a moment if he'd call me back to offer me a piece of peppermint or pick me out an apple from the crate. But he didn't, and that's okay. Ma would have thrown a fit if I had taken a gift from him. February 1934, 50 miles south of home. In Amarillo, wind blew plate glass windows in, tore electric signs down, ripped wheat straight out of the ground. February 1934. Rules of dining. Ma has rules for setting the table. I place plates upside down, grasses bottom side up, napkins folded over, forks, knives, and spoons. When dinner is ready, we all sit down together, and Ma says, "Now." We shake out our napkins, spread them on our laps, flip over our glasses and plates, exposing neat circles, round comments on what life would be like without dust. Daddy says, "The potatoes are peppered plenty tonight, Polly," and "chocolate milk for dinner, aren't we?" in Clover. When really, all our pepper and chocolate, it's nothing but dust. I heard word from Livy Killian. The Killians can't find work, can't get food. Livy's brother, Reuben, 15 last summer, took off, thinking to make it on his own. I hope he's okay. With a baby growing inside Ma, it scares me thinking, where would we be without somewhere to live, without some work to do, without something to eat? At least we've got milk, even if we have to chew it. So we can infer by chew it here, she's talking about how there's so much dust that gets into everything they have, right? We know that from the way they ate dinner. And why do you think, based off of this, that maybe not everyone would just leave and go to California? Well, look at how it's working out for the Killians. February 1934, breaking drought. After 70 days of wind and sun, wind and clouds, wind and sand, after 70 days of wind and dust, a little rain came. February 1934, dazzled. In the kitchen, she is my Ma. In the barn and the fields, she is my daddy's wife. But in the parlor, Ma is something different. She isn't much to look at, so long and skinny, her teeth are poor, her dark hair always needing a wash, but from the time I was 4, I remember being dazzled by her whenever she played the piano. Daddy bought it, an old Kramer, his wedding gift to her. She came to this house and found gaps in the walls, a rusty bed, no running water, and that piano, gleaming in the corner. Daddy gets soft eyes standing beside her while she plays. I want someone to look that way at me. On my 5th birthday, Ma sat me down beside her and started me to reading music, started me to playing. I'm not half so good as Ma. She can pull Daddy into the parlor even after the last milking, when he's so beat he barely knows his own name and all he wants is a mattress under his bones. So you've got to be something to get his notice at that time of the day. But Ma can. I'm not half so good with my crazy playing as she is with her fine tunes and her fancy finger work, but I'm good enough for Arlie, I guess. So now go back, guys. Make sure that you've annotated everything you could possibly need about tone and point of view in this chapter. We're going to work a little bit more on collecting them together. And then reread especially those last couple pages because that's going to help you with this exit ticket. I should also obviously see your exit ticket grade today is not going to be coming from this, but use this annotation guide if you're going to need it. You can pause the video here to make sure that you have been looking for these things as you read, just because that's what strong readers do. Every once in a while, maybe once or so a week, this is going to be your exit ticket, so keep the habit really strong.